So I'm doing something new with just this month, since I'm joined by my cohort in crime, Krif.
Hello.
My other half from the Bard and Krif vlogs that'll be out soon enough. Actually, the first episode, Bard and Krif Try Moxie, is up. And he's also in some old RCVs. So how this is setting up is that we'll be talking analysis during the recappy bit. So yeah, massive spoilers are massive this month around. The man in black flees across the desert, and the gunslinger follows.
On page 2.
But that is not this tale. This tale is the echoed history of the gunslinger and his young friends. Roland Deschain, son of Stephen, of the line of Eld. Cuthbert Allgood, I almost said Cuthbert, and he would have hit me. Son of Robert, whose jokes and kindness hide a complexity as dark as his hair.
No, they don't.
And Elaine Johns. I forgot his last name was Johns.
Yep.
Son of Christopher, whose dullish look betrays his clever nature.
I forgot his father's name was Christopher.
Dude, I totally forgot that everyone else's dads were... Dads are a big thing in this. We'll get to that in a very later video. Yeah. He also has a power called the Touch. He's got the touch!
He's got the power!
And what they're doing at this moment is training with their hawks, while their master trainer guy, Court.
Who has a naginata for some reason.
Well, yes, that is actually something that he's here for the books. If you saw the episode 0, you know why he's here.
So, in the original books, Court is supposed to carry a big old knotted, pretty much tree branch. Not a wooden naginata.
Is it even wood?
Yes,
it's like a bronzy...
They keep calling it his stick, which is what it's called in the books, but... thing looks like a frickin' naginata.
To speed this along, Roland finds out that his mother is sleeping with the evil wizard, Martin. So he goes to court to become a gunslinger.
To the guy court, not an actual courthouse.
Yeah, I just realized how that... You're not reading the script with me, so you don't know that there's no U in court. Whoa. He does beat Court to become a gunslinger in an emotionally poignant moment that was far more emotional in the book, I think.
It was because they could better convey the relationship between Roland and the weapon he chose for his battle, which was his hawk, David.
Plus, you got definitely into his mindset, like, while they do show, oh, hey, he finds out that Martin is stooping his mother, it's like literally the page after he finds out he goes to court, as opposed to, I think it is still the same, same day, but you get a ton more pages in between to go, Roland is uber pissed.
Right, and we also have the other bits from the book that help build into Roland's emotions, like the hanging of Hax the cook.
Was that in the...
Yes.
Okay.
Because Hax was the one who looked out for the kids, who made sure they were still taken care of even against Court's orders, and because of that, the man got hanged, which also helped put him in a very bad mindset.
Speaking of Roland being pissed, then his father interrupts his after-sex nap with a hooker. And Roland just had sex with a hooker, not his dad stumbling in with a hooker.
Now, it's kind of tradition that once you become a gunslinger, you're viewed as a man in Gilead, which is where they all live. So, as such, like any other becoming of man ceremony, pretty much, you're allowed to do things that a man would, such as taking a whore to bed. Book's words, not mine.
So, that's the end of issue 1. And yes, we are doing 2 issues
per video
until we hit Gunslinger Born, but we'll get to that.
The end of Gunslinger Born. We're in Gunslinger Born right now.
You. Anyways, issue 2 starts up with Rose's dad and him talk. They pretty much have a heart-to-heart in a manly way. You're a stupid son of a bitch. Well, you would know, Dad. Kind of things. Then we hop over to Martin doing some wizardry things to talk to the Crimson King through Black 13, one of the magical stones of the set named the Merlin's Rainbow.
They're not stones, they're glass orbs.
They're fucking the Palantir from Lord of the Rings. I see you. Ow. Anyways, Martin gives the bad news to the Crimson King that Roland has become a gunslinger. Martin gives the bad news to the Crimson King that Roland has become a gunslinger early and didn't crash and burn like they were hoping. Why does it matter? Well, because prophecy, of course. However, Martin is interrupted by the Popo of Gilead,
who were never mentioned before this comic.
They try to arrest him, not erase him. They try to erase... Fuck! They try to arrest him, but nope. Martin turns them into pugs, and then walks through a magical chalk door, because magic and shit.
Well, also because the significance of doors in the book series.
That's true, but at the same time, chalk zone.
But doors.
I too like the doors. So anyways, you had actually something to say about the Crimson King in this.
You're going to want to check the Bart and Krif vlog channel on that, because we don't have enough hours in the day for me to rant about it on this video.
Short of it.
The Crimson King is supposed to be a man, not a spider. We never know which colors of Maryland's rainbow he has, whereas in the actual panel they show every single one that he owns. And his throne is supposed to be made of human skulls, not whatever the fuck he was actually sitting on.
Actually, that's a problem we'll talk about probably in the very end of the Gunslinger Born, about the artwork as well as some...
Yeah, and...
But anyways, we're not done with this tale yet, so let's digress. Roland, Cuthbert, and Elaine are told their mission... Roland, Cuthbert, and Elaine are given a mission by their fathers to go to Hambry, in the outer barony of Magus.
The reason they're given this mission is because Martin is going to kill Roland before the night is out to try and appease the Crimson King, because prophecies and all that. So their fathers think it's easiest to get them out and get them away, so no murder.
But it is not just a... But it isn't just a protection mission, like some, being sent away. But it's not just a protection mission of, go over there so you don't die. They're actually going to talk to find out if the town of Hambry is supporting good man Farson, who's a dick. That's... Honestly, in the book, that's basically all... Like, we hear about, he does this, and he's this big leader, uber devil guy. But basically, short of it is, he's bad, he has an army, he's a dick, he's gonna invade.
And for the next 20 seconds, I'm giving out an even bigger spoiler alert, so you may just want to mute it. The reason, just to give you an idea of how big of a dick this man is, it's Martin. John Farson and Martin are the same people. So, working for the big evil of the entire overarching story, sleeping with the main character's mother, wanting to murder a child. Spoiler warning over.
That spoiler warning that you just skipped? We're going to talk about that in a second, because Martin but that's in the next issue, I think. Anyways, they get going, though Roland does they get going on their mission, which is them. But after that giant spoiler, we'll get to that in a little bit, because there's something weird that happens in the comics. So anyways, Roland, Cuthbert, and Elaine get going, though Roland does get to be a stone-cold bastard to his mom before he leaves. 'Cause she's a hoe.
This is true.
And not one of them goodly whores that accept money. She just likes...
Wizards.
She likes that magic D. 50 Cent was right.
She has a thing for a wizard's sleeve, as it were.
I can't say.
That's why I phrased it the way I did.
Anyways, we cut over to the big coffin hunters being deputized. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, we find out that all of them are dicks, but wow, this is really...
To be fair, the only one we see as an actual dick...
At least in that one is Reynolds, right?
Yes, it's Clay Reynolds, because he shoots a man who accuses him of cheating at Watch Me, which is this book's version of poker.
So, anyways, over with Ro and his quartet. Would you like to give the definition of quartet right now?
Quartet is a group of people combined, or joined together by their destiny. By ka, as it were, which is, again, just a fancy word for destiny.
So anyways, on their way to Hambry, they stop to get some food, and then they learn about their contact, Pat Delgado, being slain by the big coffin hunters, though the big coffin hunter part is a rumor. Over with the BCH, that would be the Big Coffin Hunters.
Coffin Hunter Guild.
The Laughing Coffin... No, wait. They get to the old witch Rhea of the Coos, and they give her the grapefruit to hold for Farson.
Which, why they give it to her is never fully explained.
Yeah, they literally go, here, hold this. We'll come back for it when it's plot relevant.
Well, I mean, Farson was the one who told them to give it to her, but again, he has no actual ties with her. She's not aligned with anyone. She doesn't even come back after this little plot arc.
I don't think so.
No, she doesn't. She dies at the end.
Yeah, but John dies at the end, didn't exactly. Anyways, we're digressing again. The BCH ride off, and then the witch has... They ride off. The BCH handed off to her and ride off, and the witch then has to hide the grapefruit to deal with her other obligation. She sees our heroes through the grapefruit. They ride off, and the witch looks into the grapefruit while she's waiting for her other obligation. She sees our heroes through the grapefruit and has to put it aside to prove the virginity of Susan Delgado, who did see her with the orb, but that doesn't come up until later. But Susan is totes a virgin, yo. And trust me, in the book, it is described so much more disgusting. Like, I don't want to say disgusting, sleazy?
No, it's very old-worldly the way it's done.
Old-worldly and sexualized. Because Rhea likes perky little titties. I should not say titties on this. But Rhea does like perky little breasts. Bosoms, if you will.
This is true, and the whole proving ceremony is because the mayor of Hambry is going to take Susan as bad as it's gonna sound, as a breeding mother. Because his wife is barren, so he needs someone to give him a son before he gets too old. And he picks this 17-year-old girl.
Though, to be fair, that's explained later. And Rhea also, before sending her back off to home, before Susan leaves to go back home after the whole touching, oh dear sweet Jesus, stop touching my butt, Rhea gives Susan a hypnotic message, but that will come off later. It is hypnotic. I mean,
no, in the comic, it's shown as magical. It's just a big flash of light, and she says sleep. In the book, she actually hypnotizes her.
By the way, that's why I have him around, because I like this, and he doesn't hate it, but he doesn't like it. Well, I'm probably going to cut this part out, so let's skip that. Susan races home, scared by the moon. You know, it's explained in the book. I know that.
Right, it's the harvest moon. It's where you kind of how people say that you can see the man in the moon here. Think a combination of that and the moon from The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is what's hanging in the air right now.
That is actually a very good... I've never even thought of that. You know what's a shame? The book never showed the moon once.
No, but it explained it in depth, which is how I can make that mental picture.
No, I mean that the comic didn't show the moon at all.
Yeah,
like, something like that would work really well to... Because literally, she just, she gets hypnotized and then starts, and then we cut to her later running.
Writing.
No, she was running in the book.
I could have sworn she had her horse because she fell off of it when she was praying to her father to help her. And
I thought that was
she got to see Mr. Will Dearborn standing right in front, or Mr. Will Dearborn standing right in front of her. And
that's literally where this ends, anyways.
Yeah, that's
either way. It's
the last panel is she falls on the ground praying for her father to send her guidance, send her a protector, just help her with this whole concept because she doesn't want to be the mayor's whore. And then we see Roland standing above her.
Yeah,
and that's the end of the issue.
So, what was your biggest problems in just these two issues? Not going into what comes later.
In just these two issues, it is small things that were touched on in the book that were not brought up, and differences between how things were explained in the book and how things were portrayed in the comic. For the Proving of Man ceremony, Roland knocks on Court's door in the book.
Yeah.
In the comic, he kicks down Court's door.
Well, they needed to show that he was pissed off, since they can't just explain that he was pissed off.
Then they do what they did in the book and have him speak in all capital letters, with exclamation points at the end of all of his sentences, not periods.
And actually, that's what I think my biggest problem with this is. Especially these first 2 issues, abridge the hell out of everything.
They do. The whole concept of the Proving of Man ceremony takes place over 2 chapters in the book. And it's Roland explaining everything to a boy named Jake, who we'll meet later on in the series, and explaining to him how he became a gunslinger and how everything works. So of course it's more fleshed out in the books, because you have someone who knows nothing about it, you have to explain every detail.
Which is weird, because that's then how they do the narration, too. Like, he's explaining, but it's pretty much him explaining to himself.
Well, the thing of it is, he explains it in third person in the comics. It's in third person in the comics for any elaboration.
But yeah, so, because, like, I could have swore it was, like, I don't want to say, I think it was, like, the end of the first quarter of the book where he actually meets Susan.
But to hear more about this,
there
will be a Bard and Krif talk, The Gunslinger Born, compared to the stories over at youtube.com/Bard and Krif YouTube. It'll probably be linked in the actual description.
Is that what our thing's called? Bard and Krif YouTube?
Or Bard and Krif Vlog, sorry. Bard and Krif YouTube is our email address.
Oh, okay. Hey, there's something you learned. So anyways.
So head over to the Bard and Krif vlog channel. It'll probably be linked in the description. If not, I'll make sure there's an annotation put up and you can click on it.
Eventually. Because we do want to finish this part before we do the palavering on the Dark Tower comics. And come back tomorrow as we continue this.
As we continue down the story of the Gunslinger Born, and to see where we go down the road to Meiji.
I'm gonna smack a bitch up. I'm a prodigy, son.
Listen, I have a better one planned for the very end of this.
Anyways, with that foreshadowing, if you saw the look on his face just now, you'll understand why I'm mildly... Okay, we are outie. Deuces. I'm not gonna say deuces to end this.
Are you gonna do your like, comment, share, blah, blah, blah?
No, I only do that for, Sins, the last video for each chapter, so like when we do Gunslinger Born 7, the very end would be that.
Okay.
As well as all my videos on Comic Archivist.
Yeah.
And for all you listening at Patreon, you just heard us unfreaking cut.
And you got all of it.
I am so sorry.
You loved it. Admit you loved every second of it.
Okay. And for everyone not listening on Patreon, this is where I'm going to say, come back tomorrow as, well, the rabbit hole, what he said.